I'm Kiera Morgan here at the Pacific Maritime Heritage Museum with Susan, who is the Executive Director of the Lincoln County Historical Society. And we're excited to learn a little more about the Historical Society and the great things that they're doing throughout our community. So, Susan, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Susan Tissot, and I'm the Executive Director of the Lincoln County Historical Society, which operates two properties in Newport. We're here at the Pacific Maritime Heritage Center, which is on Newport's historic bayfront and is our flagship property. But we also do have our other property on 9th Street, which is one block away from 101, and that contains our 1895 Burroughs House, our carriage house, garages, and our log cabin research library. The thing I love about the research library is that is where our archives are. And you and I have been talking about how much we both love historic photos. And we have a lot of historic photos in collection.
Now, is that open to the public as well?
So the research library is by appointment only, because that is where all the documents and photographs are. But the one way the public can get a really good taste of what we have in the archives is to go to the Oregon Digital Project online. Oregon State University and University of Oregon were digitizing museum collections. And so on the Oregon Digital site, if you look for the Lincoln County Historical Society, you'll find almost 1,400 of our images online in that database. And so you can take a peek at all kinds of subjects.
That's wonderful. And let's talk a little bit about each of the museums. Do you want to start with this one first and the incredible background behind you?
Okay, so we are at the Pacific Maritime Heritage Center, and this is the mezzanine gallery. And where we are filming today is inside an exhibition called The Curious World of Seaweed. This is an exhibition that we opened very recently. It's going to run through October 1st, and it is basically based on the writings and work of San Francisco artist and author Josie Islin. And she published a book under the same name, The Curious World of Seaweed, which we do sell in our museum store for those that are interested. It's a beautiful book. And so the exhibition basically is the history, art, and science of seaweed. It's everything you ever would want to know about seaweeds. It's very fascinating, and it incorporates her artwork. So it's beautiful, but then it's also very content rich.
And what other things do you have available for folks to see here at the Maritime Center?
So we have a second changing exhibit gallery called the Galley Gallery. And in that gallery right now is our Lincoln County 400 exhibition, which is a drone photography show that incorporates the work of 5 drone photographers from Lincoln County. And the work is juxtaposed against aerial images from the museum's archives. And it's a very fun exhibit. It shows you quite a few different perspectives.
And what's really wonderful about that I loved is that you used local photographers to showcase that aerial photography. And it's just Lincoln County.
Yes, so that was the only parameter we put when we put a call for work. The only parameter you put on it was that it had to be footage that was taken within Lincoln County. And then, of course, as per FAA rules, they had to fly below 400 feet. And so that's why it's called Lincoln County 400. There is a short video piece in the gallery that interviews some of the photographers. So they talk about their work and why they do drone photography. So it's very fascinating, and it's actually quite beautiful, and the perspectives of the images are really interesting.
And then you have some things up showcasing local fishermen.
We do. So on our main floor, we have information on shipwrecks and the communities, the indigenous community that was here. But we also do have an exhibit that is dedicated specifically to explaining the commercial fishing industry here. Newport still has a large fishing fleet. This is kind of unusual for a lot of the harbors on the Oregon coast, if not in the West. And so that fleet just across the street from us, so by the way, we do have views of the fleet from every floor of the building, this 30,000 square foot building. And the fleet, though, is more than just Dungeness crab or salmon. There's a lot of other types of industry that, like whiting, for instance, is a big, big industry right now. So that exhibit talks about what they're fishing and then what's the relevance of it and the statistics behind it and the sustainability and all of that. So that's the only place you can really get that depth of information about the commercial fleet.
And let's talk about, of course, one of my favorite things, and that's the theater.
So we're very, very fortunate to have a 121-seat theater in the building in our lower level, and it's called the Dorfler Family Theater. I like to say that it rivals anything someone would see in Ashland. It's beautifully done. The woodwork in the theater is old growth fir that was recovered from logs that were saved from the Columbus Day storm in the 60s.
So even the woodwork is historical.
Yes, yes. And the building itself is fascinating because it started as an 1890s mansion, which burned down in the 20s, and then it was rebuilt. But then it had a lot of different lives. It wasn't just a home; it was a boarding house, and it was a hotel, and it was, it was a couple of different restaurants. The last one, many in the community remember Gracie's at Smuggler's Cove. So there was a restaurant and a disco and a card room and bars and you all kinds of nightlife here. I've met people in the community who were on the wait staff when they were teenagers. We've met people who met their partner at Gracie's. I met a guy who had a bar fight in the building. So, a lot of people have different memories about this building. And what is amazing about the building is that the restaurant ceased operation in 1999. And so the building sat vacant for 5 years. It was up for sale, and there weren't really, people looked at it. But so in 2004, the Lincoln County Historical Society purchased the building, and they have spent 19 years working on this building. It's a 30,000 square foot building. It was not in the condition that you see it in today. There's been a lot of community support and really love from the community and elbow grease, to get the building to the current stage that it's in.
And there's still more work in progress?
There is. We have a certain portion of the building, about 75% of the building has been rehabbed, but our next project directly across from the Dorfler Family Theater is a 1,700 square foot room that is going to be a multi-purpose classroom meeting space. And the good news is that it should match the wainscoting in the theater. So it's going to be exceptionally beautiful, but also it too has more of the beautiful views we have of the commercial fishing fleet and the Yaquina Bay Bridge.
And let's talk about volunteers. Is the museum in need of any volunteers?
Yeah, we do. We had a lot of volunteers before the pandemic, and then for obvious reasons, that all ceased. So we're just getting people coming back to volunteer, and we have volunteers in our archives. We have volunteers that we need for special events. So yes, that is something we would like people come forward for. The other thing, if I may, is to talk about membership and what that means here.
I was just going to ask about that.
Well, since you just asked. So one of the things, we are a nonprofit organization, and part of our income is the support of members for the Lincoln County Historical Society. And what that gets you is it's an annual membership, and there's different levels of membership that you can come in on. All of them are posted on our website, at OregonCoastHistory.org. But the better thing about all that is not only if you're a member here, if you come in at the patron level or higher, we belong to a national program called NARM, the North American Reciprocal Museums Association. And if you come in at that patron level or higher, you receive those reciprocal benefits at over 1,300 museums across the country. And there's one catch to it, two catches. You have to have your membership card with a special sticker on it with you when you go to those organizations, which are they're in a directory, online, but also you have to go 50 miles from home to use the benefit. Well, coming from here,
That's easy.
not a problem. Yeah. So you'll go 50 miles to go anywhere. So that's something that a lot of people don't know about. And so basically by supporting that at that level, you're supporting the hometown museum, but and you don't have to live here to do our membership at that level at all. But it is supporting us, and then it's giving you access to 1,300 plus other museums around the country, which is a really sweet deal.
And what are the costs for membership?
So there's an individual membership at $30. There's a family membership at $50, and the NARM program starts at the $100, and then goes, however generous you want to be. With membership, you get unlimited access during our operating hours to the Pacific Maritime Heritage Center, and also when we reopen the Burroughs House, which we're working on, it's going to reopen sometime this summer. We have some issues with the building that we're trying to resolve.
It's an old building. Imagine that.
Tell me about it. All 5 of our buildings are old buildings. So lots and lots of maintenance. And so we're working on that and refreshing the space. So you would get free admission into the Burroughs House as well as the Maritime. And then you get 10% off on most items in our store, except for consignment items and whatnot. So.
And do you work with other historical societies such as North Lincoln?
So there are a handful of us in Lincoln County. There's us, and there's the North Lincoln Museum, and there's the Yaquina Bay Railroad Museum in Toledo, and the Toledo History Center, and the Walport Museum. We all meet quarterly to talk about what we're doing and share information and resources. Yeah, we would.
That's fabulous. So lots of rich history here in Lincoln County. Let's wrap up. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I would just say that don't miss this opportunity to see Josie Island's The Curious World of Seaweed. Right behind me is some of her banners of her beautiful artwork. If you go to our Instagram page, you can see a lot of postings from last weekend's Curious World of Seaweed Seaweed Weekend. That's here till October 1. You really don't want to miss it. Following that, we are going to be doing the Veterans Quilt Project, partnering with the Lincoln County Veterans Resource Center and also the Oregon Quilters Guild to showcase some of the quilts that they have made for veterans, but also then the veterans' stories, the veterans who have received the quilts. That's coming up after Curious World of Seaweed. During Curious World of Seaweed, we do have an August 13th class that we just announced. Newport artist Sherry Aldrich just came out of retirement to teach one more class by popular demand. A lot of people were really nudging her to say, come on, please. So she's going to be teaching a kelp pouch making class, which is obviously very thematic with what we've got going on the mezzanine right now with the Curious World of Seaweed. We do have in our theater, there are 15 short historic films that we've released over the years that the customer can come in and self-select what they want to watch. So we have 3 new films that we're wrapping up right now that will be loaded onto the system. So they'll have that opportunity. And then also on July 21 and 22, we do have a special Ernest Bloch program on the composer that used to live at Agate Beach.
That's fabulous. So exciting, and lots of great things for folks, whether you live here locally or whether you're coming to visit, can take advantage of. You were saying a little earlier that this is kind of the best kept secret in Lincoln County. Don't keep it a secret. Come on in, support these folks. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera. We're sponsored by the Human Being in Newport at 6th Street and Highway 101, and in Lincoln City at the north end of the highway on the west side next to TLC Credit Union. For Oregon Coast Breaking News, I'm Kiera Morgan.